Hey guys! For today's activity, we will be conducting a microinvertebrate sampling in aquatic ecosystem. Invertebrates are any animals without a backbone or bony skeleton. Examples of invertebrate animals as diverse as sea stars, earthworms, jellyfish, snails, clams, and insects. Among the invertebrate animals, we found a snail. Snails belongs to Mollusca, class Gastropoda, order Prosoberantia. Identification tips of snails have upper column, a hardened cover that seals the shell's opening when the body is withdrawn. Upper column located on top of rear of foot when extended. Pattern of lines on upper column is used to distinguish families. Life history of snails. Most snails live for 2 to 5 years. Most have separate gender, lay eggs in spring, breathe using gill located inside shell. Most scrape algae of underwater surfaces. A few shred and consume living plants or detritus. A few filter fed using modified gill. Fusion tolerance of snails. Some very sensitive, most somewhat sensitive, and some facultative. There are two types of snail. These are land snail and gill snails. Land snail subclass Pulmonata rise to the surface and breathe air through a pouch membrane that acts as a lung in their shells. They are also known as pouch snails and are identified as left-handed snails because their shell opening points to the left when held with the tip up. Since land snails breathe air and store air, they are somewhat tolerant of environments with poor water quality. Gilled snail subclass Prosobranchia are identified as right-handed snails because of the opening shell points to the right when held with the tip pointing up. As indicated by the name, these snails have gills and breathe underwater. Consequently, they require clean and well-oxygenated water to live. Gilled snails also have a sort of trapdoor known as upper column that can close off the shell opening. When the snail is in danger from a predator or gets stranded outside of the water, it can fully retract into its shell and close its door to the world. This provides snails some protection and allows it to survive short periods without a water. The soft body of the snail stays within the protective shell. Only the head and foot protrude from the shell. The upper column of a gilled snail is part of the foot. On the head, two eye stalks have tiny little eyes on the tips that allow the snail to see light and shadow underwater. Snails use their muscular foot appendage to pull themselves forward. They glide slowly on secreted layer and mucus designed to provide traction and to smooth out surfaces. Instead of a red carpet, each snail has its own personal little slime carpet to travel along. Algae is a primary ingredient of freshwater snails' diet. They have a raspy sort of tongue known as radula that they scrape along surfaces to shave off tiny bits of algae and other matter.
Habitat and life cycle. Lunch or pouch snails are hermaphroditic. This means each individual snail has both male and female qualities. When a pair of lunch snails mate, both individuals are fertilized and both lay a gelatinous egg mass up to 50 eggs in the water. Land snails generally live only about 1 year, but each individual may lay numerous clutches of eggs during the time. Conversely, gilled snails may live 2 to 3 years and generally have separate male and female individuals. The mechanic of egg laying and hatching vary by species. Most often, the female lays egg clutches on underwater surfaces, but in some cases, eggs actually hatch with a special sac inside the female. In such cases, up to a dozen very tiny snails may grow a bit inside the special sac before making their own way into the world. Newly hatched baby snails of all species are fully formed but very, very tiny. In some cases, they may be as small as 1 100th of an inch in shell length. Baby snails grow very quickly in proper water conditions. Freshwater snails must extract dissolved calcium from their watery homes in order to maintain shell strength. Since the Rouge River watershed has limestone-based soils, dissolved calcium has not been a limiting factor for the health of our little snail friends.
Take action. Land snails are more tolerant of poor water quality and low oxygen level. Their presence indicates that a stream is maintaining at least a minimal water quality for creature. However, gill snails are very sensitive to water quality and oxygen levels. Their presence indicates a better overall water quality.